Counterpoint number 4. In this fourth counterpoint dialogue, Karin and I will speak of very practical matters. How does one live this spiritual and psychological wisdom in the real world, in life itself? This brings our reflections into the dilemmas and conflicts of everyday life. Neither the Sufi way nor the Jungian way exempts a person from the ordinary considerations of ethical behavior, even if one must sometimes put those considerations in a broader context in order to advance on the path of self-realization and individuation, but with very careful consideration. So in this dialogue, we will reflect on embodiment, ethics, and life in the world. Karin?
Thank you, Murray. Yes, in our previous episodes of our series, Counterpoint, we have talked about analysis, guidance, transformation, and much, much more. So today, of course, we are going to talk about self-realization after the fact, so to say, what happens after you have acquired that state. How do you live with it? How do you live with it, really, literally? Because it's not that through this all your troubles are washed away or something. In fact, the consciousness of that of your soul is at a frequency much, much higher than what the body is used to. So the body has to sort of synchronize with that. When that works, it feels marvelous. But there are situations when it has to adjust. You can feel it. The body suddenly feels very dense, which is not true, but it's a memory of the body. Then there is the mind, of course, which also has to get used to the peace and tranquility and compassion that comes from that state of consciousness. Well, then again, if you're in a traffic jam or you can't remember a password, or you have to come back to it time and again, really. And for the heart, it's less of a trouble because it is like that. It's love and peace where the soul resides naturally. It's just that the heart hasn't had a chance so much to express it in previous states of consciousness and life in general. But there we come to the absolute ethical obligation of you, whoever you are, to come back to the realization that the soul has bestowed upon the self, the higher self, and safeguard it, take care of it. Find practices for yourself that remind you also when you know that you're pulled out or triggered out of it. So that's all I have to say for now. We'll come back to all this and much more. So over to you, Murray Stein, our senior most Jungian psychoanalyst.
I want to say that the realization of individuation in life is an ongoing process of reflection and interaction with the world around. Reflection going within, as you say, Karin, and staying in close contact with the realizations that one has made, the insights, um, the breakthroughs, the meanings, the important dreams and symbols on the one hand, but also being very engaged in life um, in the world that one lives in. So we talk about the incarnation of the self in daily life. The self is a complexity. It is made up of pairs of opposites. So when you live the self, as opposed to living a narrowly circumscribed ego, you're also living within the dialogue of the opposites, within the yes and the no. And it isn't quite so definite and clear as I think maybe in the Sufi system, there is more of an emphasis on clarity. I think in the Jungian program, it's more a sense of suffering the opposites, holding the tension of the opposites. For instance, in the typology that Jung discovered to talk about conscious functioning, you have two attitudes. You have extroversion and you have introversion. If you're going to embody the self, you need to use both of those attitudes. Introversion goes inward, extroversion goes outward to the object outside, introversion to the objects inside, both. And there is a tension between those two because life demands that we attend to what's around us. How do we do that? The ethical question comes up. How do you deal with the world around you? Also, an ethical question, how do you deal with the world within you? You have the two attitudes, and then you have four functions. You have thinking and feeling and sensation and intuition. And each of those has its own prescriptions, its own ways of proceeding and giving us information or extending our understanding of the world around us. And as we individuate, and it's a never-ending process, we try to use more and more of these capacities of extroversion, introversion, and the four functions. And that creates a lot of tensions. Should you use your thinking or your feeling in a certain situation? Feeling gives you values, thinking gives you ideas and analysis. Sometimes you use one more, sometimes the other. Say you're in business. A businessman will think about maximizing profits. That's the thinking function. You become an accountant and maximize profits. The feeling function says, are these products of service to the world, to the community? Are they good for people? The pharmaceutical companies face this all the time. You know, they want to sell a lot of products, but they need to test them well and make sure that they don't have terrible side effects and so on. And sometimes they cut corners, favor thinking instead of feeling. So the individuating person tries to use all these capacities as much as possible in order to, I would say, come to decisions that represent the self and not only ego interests. And there is the question of conscience. I wrote a book many years ago called Solar Conscience, Lunar Conscience. There's a kind of superego conscience that is the rules in the world around us that we can learn in law books and codes of ethics and so on, which you have to learn to pass the test to get your license to practice psychotherapy, for instance. There are ethical rules, and you have to learn those, and you have to abide by them. That's a type of ethics. I call that solar ethics. It belongs to the public world, and we're all subject to these rules. Some of the rules are not so good, and sometimes we have to break them. There are situations where there is a kind of higher law than the laws of ethics that have been devised by human beings and committees and so on. And then I also speak about a lunar conscience. And that's what, Karin, you were talking about. How do you take care of the self in all of its depths and dimensions? How do you protect that? How do you honor that? It's precious. So there's the lunar conscience will tell you what's good for you, what's good for you. It might not be good for others all the time, but it's something that's necessary for you in a deep sense, not in a superficial, selfish sense. But that keeps you on your journey, on your path of individuation, and on the road to your own personal truth. So that is what I call lunar conscience, and that is a deeply introverted, introspective assessment of your heart. And what does it say about what's good for you, what's right for you? Never mind the solar ethics for the moment. But this is a tension between solar and lunar.
It is.
And I speak about this because I think living in the world is full of these conflicts and demands that go in very different directions. We also talk about creativity. Living the self and individuation involves creative expression of our intuitions, our ideas, the possibilities that come to us. It might be expressed in language or works of art or charitable activities or business or politics, many different areas. But it's staying in contact with your creativity and not just following what other people tell you to do. If you're in a job in a big corporation or something, you have a boss and he has a boss and everybody tells the others what to do. Is there room for creativity there, for creative expression? Maybe you have to do it outside the job. But this is very important to live the self and live individuation, to stay in touch with creativity. And it isn't just your creativity, you're channeling the creative energies of the universe, of life. Life itself, Jung called the anima, life itself. You're channeling the energies that make new life possible, that make new things possible. And so it's participation in the world without inflation, without getting identified with these archetypal energies, but being in touch with them and aligning yourself with their direction sometimes opposing them if ethically, for one reason or another, you think they're going in a bad direction. There are no formulas for this. It's a very individual path. And then I want to mention synchronicity. Paying attention to synchronicity, I think, is a very important part of living the individuation and living with the self in the world. Synchronicities are these meaningful coincidences, as Jung talked about this. You have a dream or an intuition or an impulse, an inner fact, you can call it. And then something happens in the world around you on the outside of your psyche. And there's a correspondence between them. They happen at the same time, they match. And then you say, wow, that was a coincidence. And we experience these all the time, coincidences. So that was an interesting coincidence. You happen to be in the right place at the right time, met the right person. And a lot of the most important decisions in life are made out of these coincidences. I can't remember how I met you, Karin, but I think it was a coincidence. And it took us on a long journey together.
Yes.
You happened to show up at a lecture I gave in Holland, I think, and
Yes, that's right.
we had a little conversation after that, and then some meetings, and things develop like that.
Mm.
So I call these meetings of meaning, and they're moments when you're prepared inwardly for something, and something outside matches, and that has a potential. Jung says it has a meaning. The meaning is in the event itself. You don't make it up, you discover it through the process of exploring what does this open up? Where could this possibly take you? So I think paying attention to these quotes accidents that happen to us, and finding the meaning in them. Is there an inner correspondence to this outer? Is there a match? Is there a resonance? You find a meaning in it, and it can be transformative. Jung gives examples of that in his essay on synchronicity. And some of them look sort of trivial, but they turn out to be life-changing. And I think that was one of his great contributions. A part of the Jungian legacy is keeping your eyes open to the events in the world around and within, and how they match up. This is what people speak of as doors opening, or closing, doors closing. No, you can't go there. That's also can be a synchronistic event. You're not meant to go there. You're meant to go somewhere else. Jung speaks about the hand above his head that guides his destiny. And toward the end of his life, he says, as he looks back, there was a hand above my head that was guiding my destiny. And I think that feeling can come to you at a late stage of life and experience and individuation or self-realization, that you've lived the life you were meant to live. And it's a wonderful affirmation that your life has had meaning for you and for other people. And that's what we like to find in the later years. I work with quite a lot of people in my practice who are in their later years, over the age of 70, some into their late 80s. And this gradual perception that the life they lived, they can see the patterns, have led them to a place that is very meaningful for them. And sometimes it's very painful before they get there, and they fall into despair. And we have to work with that. That's the other side of meaninglessness. We experience that too. So what I'm saying is, living individuation in real time, in real life, involves the tension of the opposites and working with that, and overcoming temptations to one-sidedness, staying open to possibilities.
Yes, to possibilities, and indeed to creativity, which is an expression of the soul in Inayat Khan's world. Once you have acquired self-realization, there is not only an ethical imperative to live it as such, but also the possibility to find an expression that's genuinely true to your soul. So, for instance, love as a creativity cannot be expressed in words or giving presents on Valentine's Day or something like that, because the expression of love is love, and people feel the difference between the two. And
there's a big difference.
Yes, it is. So that truthfulness to the self in creative expressions and in love are genuinely healing for yourself and other people all the time, in a flow of life, like the green one.
Exactly. And as you say, there's an obligation involved. Do you think a part of that obligation, as you proceed in years and develop is also to teach.
If you have the talent for it, you must.
Well, you can teach in different ways, but I'm thinking of the 10th Oxfording picture, the 10
Yes, yes.
Oxfording pictures of Zen Buddhism. And after the Enlightenment, or we could say self-realization, number 8, which is the Enzo, the empty self, and so on. Then there's the 9th picture of perception without ego. And the 10th the 10th picture is the sage entering into the marketplace. And there you see him, the sage, jolly, round, speaking to a young man, a student. So he's teaching, and the text says the trees blossom wherever he goes.
Exactly.
So that entering into the marketplace, I always keep in mind as this participating in the world, but you're not just participating as an ordinary businessman walking through the marketplace or buying stuff. You're also a teacher, whether formally, teaching, but just through your presence, there is a teaching, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. And it's well documented that people have had real breakthroughs in their path towards self-realization by just sitting in the same room as Inayat Khan. Not a word exchanged, but it can come out like bewildered by insights.
Yes. People say that about Jung too. I had a friend, he's passed away now, Tom Kirsch, who had a session when he was a young man. Jung was very old. He had a session with him that his mother arranged. She had known Jung for many years. And then many years later, I asked him, well, what did you say? What did Jung say in that session? He said, I don't remember anything. I sat in there with him for an hour, but I will never forget the experience, but I can't remember anything that I said or he said. It isn't the content.
No, it's not the content at all. It is what you have mentioned in earlier Counterpoint sessions. It's the presence of a person who has cultivated his own good self in such a manner that it's generously providing that insight to others without claiming to know it themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Jung would never claim that he had wisdom, but he exuded it. Erik Erikson talks about generativity in the last stage of his eight-stage program. Generativity, I think that we're touching on that too. The individuated or self-realized person is generative. They're generous in their giving, even if they're not consciously giving, just being. But there's a generative effect about their presence.
Yeah, an outflow of sharing the teachings they have received and accumulated and held within a certain bound to boost its unique energy.
Yes, and have digested well. They're giving you, you could say, a well-prepared meal. They have eaten it, they have digested it, and now they put it before you for you to eat. And they'll sit beside you as you sample the dishes and help you appreciate. But we each need to digest the experiences. That's the individual participation aspect. And then we're in a position to offer good food to others. And we wanted to emphasize that we're speaking about these men who lived a long time ago, Inayat Khan and Jung. And we live in quite a different world. We can overemphasize that too, of course, but the atmosphere in our world is perhaps different. The technology is very different. The ways of life and habits have changed a lot. Um, uh, the customs and globalization and travel. And so for the person living today, how these teachings are helpful, how these their
Yes.
writings, their examples for people today.
Mm. That's the important point. How can this journey, not taken by train or plane, but by foot alone, be inviting to a generation and a world and a context that you just described, to the extent that someone thinks it's important to connect with the self? Why would they need to do that when you can outsource most of it, so to say? Yeah. Well, I think if you have ever felt loved yourself, you will want to go and look for that place and be there more. And the outflow that comes through the teachings, the meal, the generosity, is of course an automatic outflow of love that just wants to flow towards the world. Not indiscriminately, of course, but in a contained manner. So, because you have more clear thinking, you also observe where it's needed, and it will automatically go there.
But we have to also say that this, TikTok gives you information in 30 seconds, and then you go on to the next thing. These are very different programs. The Jungian individuation journey and the Sufi self-realization, they are concentrated. They take a long time. Consistency. You go into Jungian analysis, for instance, for years, maybe once or twice a week, regularly, same time. There is it goes against the grain of these fast-moving clips on social media and so on. So we're kind of going against the grain. But I think if we can say that there is a benefit to it that is worth the effort for the individual and for the community, I hope we can sell that product.
Yes.
Because I think it's a very worthy product, not to get rich from it, but to entice people and interest people in making the efforts that are required. I think there's a terrible hunger for meaning and spiritual access to these higher levels.
But this is not immediate transcendence at all. No. It isn't. And it's good that you mentioned that, because it takes a long while to reach an embodied self-realization. But if you ever have had a glimpse of the nobility of your soul, you feel an urge to return to that felt sense of what you are made of and to take care of it.
I really like that phrase, the nobility of your soul. Something you say very interesting in your book, Karin, is that when Inayat Khan came to America, he realized that people didn't want to look up to anyone. In this democratic world, there were no kings, no hierarchies. Everything sort of flattened out, and commercialized and for sale. And there's no sense of that nobility in the modern and postmodern world for many people. But I think we have to say that if you do this work, you will sense the nobility of the self, as you say. You will have a dream, you will have some images, you will have a experience the spiritual world, the inner world, as we call it, that has the quality of nobility that you want to humble yourself before.
Exactly. You can't help it.
Yes, that the ego will bow to the nobility of the soul. And that's a kind of natural individual hierarchy experience, I would say, that I think is so valuable.
Yes. Keen perception.
Well, we are coming to the end of our fourth conversation, Karin. I just want to say to the audience that we hope you have been not only pleasantly entertained in these 4 counterpoint dialogues, but also are inspired to continue on the path that your life journey will take you, and continue with hope and an open heart. Whether it's the Sufi path, Jungian path, or another path, we have spoken about these 2. But the path to self-realization is like the way to individuation, never ending. In this lifetime, perhaps even also not in the next lifetime, in the afterlife. There's a possibility that it goes on even in the next stage of our existence, out beyond this body's existence. And if you found these dialogues useful, please invite others to join in and listen. And we hope that it will benefit all who come to these conversations and try to come with us on this journey and counterpoint experience.
Yes, hope and inspiration. I wish everyone who comes across our work.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.